Hey, everybody. This section is mostly concerning the legend keeping his word with Hughie, and that he tells him everything that he wants to know in exchange for killing Blarney Cock for the second time. There's a lot of backstory in this one, as we go into the past and learn about the start of Vought-American. So let's jump right into it. This is entitled, I Tell You No Lie, G.I., Part 1. We begin this story with the legend providing backstory to Hughie about how Vought-American grew into the company that it is today. And it goes all the way back to World War II. The legend explains that by the summer of 1945, the war in the Pacific was nearly at its end, as their boys had Toho on the run. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, a couple of the carrier air groups were re-equipped with a new fighter plane called the VAC F-7U Grizzly. These planes were rushed into production and had numerous problems. They had stalled out and the planes jammed. And worst of all, to get the range, they had stuck fuel tanks everywhere they could, including one right under the seat, which caused the planes to explode and burn the pilots alive. In turn, the Navy had no air cover, which allowed the Japanese kamikazes through to sink the carriers. The pilots were crying out to be given their Corsairs and Hellcats back. But Truman dropped the bombs on Japan. And the whole point was mute. The legend tells Hughie that the F-7U Grizzlies were engineered and supplied by, you guessed it, Vought-American, known as VAC at the time. We quickly turn to Butcher, meeting up with the Homelander on the roof of a building on a brisk, cloudy day. Homelander descends from the sky and asks, so what's the problem? We then turn right back to Hughie and the legend. Hughie inquires, why would the Navy take such a terrible plane off them? And why did they make it so fucking shit to begin with? The legend replies. They know the war has only got so long to go, and they want to get their product out there. Navy gave them the contract. If they don't deliver, they are never going to get another. So they cut a few corners, skip a couple test flights, maybe even fake the results. Do what it takes to meet the deadline. What the fuck? It isn't like they gotta fly the son of a bitch. The legend goes on to explain that Vought-American were able to receive the contract because they have friends in the Purchasing Commission, the War Department, Congress, and everywhere else. The legend explains, turns out Vought ain't even that good at it. They got the business side down okay, got their hands up all the right asses, but somehow they never get the product right. And then they find something that they are good at, and this is a secret. We turn next to A-Train and Starlight on cleanup duty at the 7's headquarters. A-Train, being the warm and comforting colleague that he is, can't help but bitch and moan the whole time. Give me a break. And the rest of them are off confronting these ultimate fucking badasses, and would someone please tell me what it is about them? Seriously, but because I'm somehow still considered a goddamn newbie, I'm stuck here with you doing this? Starlight responds, the Homelander says this is important. He says we should take a good long look, because it's what happens to anyone who underestimates these whoever they are. Then Starlight opens a door, and we see a decrepit, poor shadow of a human being. We see that it is Lamplighter, still grasping his lamp. We switch back to Butcher and Homelander, rubbing salt in the wound, I suppose. Down to business. We thought the agreement was still good. We were unaware of having done anything that would negate it. Their conversation heats up. Given what happened last time, I personally cannot imagine why you would want to reopen hostilities, unless Colonel Mallory has finished mourning those two little girls and returned to the fold, which I doubt. I know for a fact that the lamplighter is still trying to recharge his lamp with his feces. Yet here we are. Teenage kicks for one thing. Oh, they got your note, by the way. Barrel of burned bones. Charming. And this is of course referring back to Hughie burning the dead remains of Blarney Cock. But fucking up Vic's speech was something else entirely. Never mind that you've been bugging our home. You took a shot at Vought? And as I say, I have no idea why you would want to, unless our very existence is enough to drive you to distraction. There is a phrase that sums up our situation perfectly. It's mutually assured destruction. And look, are you actually planning on saying anything today? And then we have a little sidebar with the boys and the other members of the 7, where the boys are laughing at the deep, and Frenchie cannot contain himself. Back to Hughie and the legend. The legend goes on to explain the effect that Vought had on the Vietnam War. Hello, the M20 assault rifle, the latest from Vaught's firearm division. The straw that almost fucks him too. The legend tells the story of Ia Drang Valley, where the US had the Viet Cong outnumbered and outmatched, yet the Viet Cong still came out on top because the M20s couldn't shoot, the one job that they were supposed to do. Weeks after they go in, US relief units reach the Ia Drang. First thing the boys on the Hughie see is 1,000 severed heads. The assault rifles were so bad, the Viet Cong didn't see it fit to keep them. This not so tiny little mishap gets Bobby Kennedy's attention, and he goes after VAC, and they end up going belly up and vanishing. At least until 3 years later, when a meteorite strikes in Wyoming, and they come back as Vought-American. Homelander was in the meteor. Back to A-Train and Starlight on cleanup duty. Starlight asks, "Couldn't you do this at super speed?" A-Train replies, "All I do is spray shit all over the place. My control's never been all that great." "Well, figure it out, bitch. Jeez, that's why you're a newbie on cleanup duty, idiot." Starlight then empathetically comments on how Lamplighter should be alive, only for A-Train to reply how he is not, and he is only a V-boosted, damaged, revived asshole like Blarney Cock. We turn back to Butcher and Homelander, and Homelander asks Butcher why he hates him so much. He figures out that it must be because he hurt someone close to him. We flash back to the meteor strike all those years ago in Wyoming. The meteor created a crater in the earth, and the military in full force descended onto it. The legend advises that Homelander, a little baby at this point, is at the bottom of the crater. No spaceship, just him. Homelander was kept in a silo in South Dakota for 18 years with a hydrogen bomb strapped to his ass until they were sure he can be trusted. This is all just a made-up story, of course, a way to describe Homelander as a miracle who fell from the sky. Vought taught him well, and he is a willing pupil. He gets that smile just right. He is humble so he don't intimidate men. He is vulnerable so the women get to add a little romance to their fuck fantasies. The right like him because he is powerful. The left like him because he is smart and has a sense of humor. The legend goes on and tells Hughie that the real story is that Vought grew him. Vought had a team manipulating Compound V, refining it. They injected it in a fetus and implant the thing in some retarded broad. Kills her stone dead at birth and also takes out the entire medical team handling the birth too. In Vaught's eyes, Homelander is a success, so they do it again 6 more times to make the 7. Homelander, Black Noir, Maeve, The Deep, Jack from Jupiter, Lamplighter, and Mr. Marathon. There are other soups, of course, but the 7 are bred to be the best. The legend advises the reason there's only 7 is because of the huge cost to breed these guys from birth. Hughie asks why the 7 don't take over the world. The legend responds that ruling the world would be a motherfucker, especially next to enjoying the fruits of being powerful. The legend suggests the next step for Vought is to weaponize the soups and make them part of national defense. The legend asks about the girl Hughie is seeing, the one where you went down on her wounded clam. Hughie answers that her name is Annie, but she isn't returning his calls. Back to it. The legend tells Hughie the 7 take off big time. They are like a movie come to life. The merchandise alone doubles Vaught's profits for the first 2 years. Bell, Dow, GE, and the rest of them are watching all of this like a hawk. They never understood before just why Vaught's sunk so much into soups over the years. There was a thing in 44 where Vought convinced Ike to try a team on the front lines, and Greg Mallory can tell you how that turned out. But Christ, they got it now. That brings us to the end of